The use of social media. We're now using Twitter, we're now using Facebook, and our online networking platforms. We started basically 2 years ago, but as Soulbeat Africa, we've only sort of solidified that function this year. So we're sort of monitoring that at the moment. I still haven't quite figured out how do you monitor Twitter and Facebook use and what impact that is having. That's still something that I need to look at, and whether the stats that you get on your Facebook, but that Facebook gives you, what it actually means in terms of use. Yeah.
Are you finding that using those social media tools is helping to enhance your work?
I think so. I'm very excited about how Twitter and Facebook is getting the word out, because you can see on Facebook who's been retweeting, so and on Twitter who's been retweeting your information, and that's very encouraging, because we work so virtually that I have no idea who's actually interacting with our information, and Twitter is actually the first time, and Facebook is where you actually see that interaction happening. We do have a space for interacting on our site with a ratings function and a comments function, but people don't use it as much as they do sort of very popular social media.
Yeah, absolutely. In the last 2 years, Future Agriculture has actually brought in the issue of pastoralism into the bigger debate, and that's because it's been fading away as a traditional sort of sorry, can I start?
You can, yeah.
Okay. So basically what we did is with the research that is ongoing on pastoralism and the different ways that pastoralists are innovating to kind of find new ways of marketing their produce, new ways of engaging in partnerships with other people. And so we have actually brought in voices from the pastoralists and engaged them with the policymakers, and also included in between the researchers. So we actually have the pastoralists, and we have the policymakers, and then we have the researchers talk about the issues that actually comes from top down, instead of having a research that is actually being directed to policymakers without involving the people that you're actually doing the research for. And so that's been very effective. We recently had, in 2009, we had a pastoralism meeting called the University of the Bush, where we actually brought the pastoralists and took the policymakers and the researchers all the way where the pastoralists live, so that they can actually see the impact of what their work is doing to the pastoralists. So it's not just having the debate at the higher level, but actually going to the lower level and actually discussing with the pastoralists and with the policymakers what issues are affecting them and how they can solve those things in terms of policy making. So definitely.
It's more to do with skills and practices. When we publish best practices or worst practices, then people are able to learn from the worst practices, and they're able to replicate the best practices. And we've documented case studies of where communities from one area picked knowledge from another area and continued to better their livelihoods using it.
The farmers and the researchers, the stakeholders in this platform are appreciating the innovation systems approach and how it's working. The farmers are very excited about the way they see the things. We can see appreciation. We are still in the process of documenting on what's coming out, but they are talking to each other. The researchers are seeing they had to change their approach in dealing with the farmers and giving the farmers respect of what they're doing, and then it brings in. We hope it can translate into sustainable systems in this sweet potato production of this particular project. They are already seeing positive things coming out, change in production on how they do the planting, just little minor changes which has improved the productivity of the
train
crop.
due to ideas in ASPI training. With the workshop which they trained me, I'm now able to deliver adult training, adult education now in a more participatory and enhanced manner. And like before, where we used to take people as empty drums, we go, we throw knowledge into them, bombard them. Now we engage them. Yes.
Publicity, for me, really publicity, and it is. Normally we go out looking for funding and all of that, but I tell you now we have had a lot of people writing to us, wanting to know about our work and places or avenues that we can partner, within our work. So for me, that really has worked for us. Publicity is key.
How have you been publicising yourself then?
I did mention we make a lot of online stuff. We are online. We just Google our name and then you find us popping up on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Our website is up and active, and then also the media. We have a very strong relationship with the media, because we organized an information literacy training for them once, and that brought us closer. And so now if we have an event, sometimes if they are not even able to send a reporter, to report, they follow up to read reports of the work, and they make stories out of it, and that has given us, publicity. In fact, there was one they carried our story on the Government of Ghana website. Yeah, and we thought that, hey, that was really big for us, because very few organizations, get their stories published on the government website.
It's the maturity from GTNet is almost 10 years, so it's now in its toddler or closer to a teenager phase, and there were a lot of experiences learned, good lessons and bad ones, of course. And it's kind of we're looking back now and questioning our mandate. So we are focusing now, launching a new campaign called Connect South, and it looks into the challenges of Southern researchers. Why is it still pending? Why is it still halting? Why is it moving? There are plenty of knowledge intermediaries in the area, and everyone, and there is funding, not as much as before, of course, but there is funding from major donors to push forward Southern research, and still we're yet talking about the challenges of Southern researchers, why Southern researchers are not communicating well. So a question of whether we are doing a good or a bad job is under debate now, and I think this is an interesting bit to revisit our mandate as a network and try to do things differently, from a different angle.
During the last 2 years, the biggest change for my work is, being involved with the whole open source software and repositories, and working with the developing countries directly. That has actually changed my perspective of looking at things. And there are things that we take for granted. For example, you can do an installation, like you install something in the UK, it may take you 30 minutes. You go in an African country, it takes you 2 days for the same thing. So there are those things that we take for granted that now I've come to realize that actually sometimes it's not easy. And the other thing I've learned is people in developing world, they don't need snazzy technology. They don't need really cutting edge. They need the basic technology, because that's what they want. While we are busy complaining about, having mobile phone, gaming and sort of things, they are using mobile technology for maternal health, for agriculture. So it's kind of a different kind of perspective. So therefore, if we are in the West, we just come in and say, here's the technology, do that, it won't work, because their problem is different. The technology is the same, but it's just the problem that we need to use that technology to solve is actually different. It's more livelihood, health and social issues, while in the other side is more entertainment. So that's the difference. But it's understanding that has been very, very, revealing.
My background is in ICT, so the answer is quite obvious. Or maybe not that obvious. But I think the change in demand for information and the speed of information and the way information is being accessed, that has dramatically changed.
What did it used to be and how is it now then, would you say?
It used to be communicating on paper, on a slow pace. We would send out emails or maybe send information by physical mail. While in a number of locations, internet access has grown so much that online information, you request it now, you have it in 10 minutes later, has grown enormously. So that means, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we had this business plan where we said, well, we still want to facilitate organizations that are offline, who do not have internet access, with our products. The number of organizations requesting that type of products have reduced enormously. We do everything online, at least via email, and mostly online via websites. So I think in general, email is one of the things we do, but also using websites and web services more and more and more. And we are aware that the problem at this moment is that everybody says, well, internet connectivity in Africa is growing enormously. And that makes people think that everybody's got internet access, which is not the case. So there's still a demand for offline information. And of course we know the devices that information is delivered on, and the tablets, the mobile phones, are more and more important. And I must admit we should be very aware of that the speed of change, the pace of change is very, very high. And we must also be very alert that we are not lagging behind in the way we package our information. And that's what I took of this conference, to working with, I'm used to work with academia and with universities, where we see the information to decision makers. What you hear in this conference is through other means. They won't go out for academic publications. They'll go out for easily digestible, evidence-driven information. And maybe over the next few years that will be the challenge, how to bridge this gap from academic information to easily consumable information. I see, well, everybody sees this thing in big data, more open data, and data in itself is hard to consume. You need to read tables. Data visualization, creating beautiful graphs of correlations of data.
Social media has been significant in terms of disrupting the way we're working.
Disrupting?
Yes, yes, because iNetwork had set up this collection of knowledge sharing tools, face-to-face seminars, newsletters that go out every quarter or every month, a mailing list. So they're a bit more, they're less Web 2.0, they're not really Web 2.0. And then you get things like Twitter and Facebook coming in, and we're kind of disoriented. Okay, should we do the Facebook? Should we do the Twitter? And how does that reach some of the rural people that we're working with? So how we are getting that into our programs is still a challenge for us. And because we also have the pressure from the development partners who say, you need to use more of these tools, they're effective. And then you're trying to figure out, how am I going to get somebody who doesn't have a smartphone and has limited access to the internet to check our Facebook page or to pick something up from Twitter. So how we use Twitter then becomes a big challenge for us. So we want to stay relevant, development partners, but also stay relevant to the people that we're serving.